Hello once again and welcome to today's tutorial. I'm going to take you through classes in that, and then we'll be looking at a number of interesting things because when we talk about class, we are looking at object-oriented programming. Okay, so when they say class, it's like a blueprint of what an object. Okay, so if you have a real-world object, you can create a blueprint of that. Okay, so it's very simple. Let's go through it and then we'll see how classes are made, how we can initialize classes, how we can even inherit from classes. Okay, so let's start by defining a class. Okay, so in that we create a class by what? The keyword class, then the class name. So I want to create a car, so that's the class name, and then the next thing will be what? The curly braces. So I would prefer to use a capital letter for this class. All right, so I'm going to state these few things. In a class, we have a number of things that can come in. Okay, so we have fields, we have getters, we have setters, we have functions or methods. You can choose to call it either functions or what? Methods. Okay, so fields are what? Variables created in what? A class. Okay, that's the class level variables. Getters are kind of functions that helps us to what? Get access to the fields. And then setters also allow us access to the field by setting it for us. It can allow us to pass variables through here that goes to set the fields. And then methods are what? The behavior. Okay, what you want the class to do. Okay, so when we talk about object and classes also, a class should have some few things like a behavior, okay, and then those kind of things. So the behavior is going to be defined by what? The functions. Okay, it should have members. Okay, it should have members in it. Okay, so yes, let's move on. We are not going to be talking much today. So I'm going to define a class with similar things I've just defined, like the field, the getters, the setters, and then the method. Okay, I'll explain the code when I'm done. Okay. All right. So um, like I explained earlier, these are fields. Okay, we have a class called car. Okay, and then I have two fields. The first field is string name, and then the second string is what? Model. Okay, now inside the class I have a number of getters and setters. This is a getter, car name, so it will help me to get what? This value, okay, when I need it. So it's called get a car name. Then I have void here, which is what? Also a setter. This one is a setter, and then it sets the car name. So we pass in a name and then it sets it what? The name of the what? Car. That's how come we have this. The this keyword is used to reference what? The instance of the field in the class. Okay, because if I didn't put the this before the name here, it will be like I'm passing this name here and then I'm assigning the same name to it. It's kind of would cause issues. So this keyword is used to what? Differentiate that the name on the left hand side is what? The name in the member or as the member of the class. All right, so I have another setter here which also sets the car model, and then it takes in a string, and then it will check if the car model is model S, yeah, Tesla Model S, and then it will just print that excellent, my favorite car, and else it would print out, oh sorry, else it will save the what? Any other model which is not my favorite car into what? The model field we have here. Okay, and then I have a getter here which will return the car model for us. Now the last thing in the class is what? A function. which prints out the car name and the model. Okay, so inside our main function, as usual, that's where we call the classes and then the functions to run. Like I mentioned in previous tutorials, that's the entry point of what our Dart program. So right here, I initialize my class as new class into the variable my car, sorry, new car into what my car, and then I call in the car name. So I'm going to set what the car name. Okay, so my car dot car name, and then I set what Range Rover to it, and then my car dot what car model, and then what I set Vela. Okay, so Range Rover Vela. Okay, and then my car dot print. So I call the method in to print out what the fields. Okay, so let's run it and see if we'll have the results desired. Okay, so we have what Range Rover Vela. So it has printed the name and the model of what the car. Okay, so that is fantastic. Now let's see. I want to call just after setting the variables or the values of what the fields. I want to call one of the what the getters to return what the field value to me. Okay, before I would use it, so I can use it for any other thing, or I can just print it out as well. Okay, so I'm going to get the class name, sorry, the car name. Okay, I'm going to get the car name, so I'm going to call a variable here var let's call it c name. So that's the car name, and then what we want to do is we are calling my class, the value we my car, the value we created, the variable we created, and then we call the method that is supposed to give us the name, the getter. So dot what, so this is what we have here, and then we are going to print out the C name, that's the class name we just returned from what the class we created. So the car name we just what return from the class we created. So when you run this, you are supposed to have what just the name of the car returned. So we have what Range Rover. Okay, so that's perfect. Now I'm going to move into what inheritance. Okay, I want to look at how do we then inherit what properties of a class. So for instance, I have a car here. Now I want to have a child of the car. Okay, I want to have a child of the car, and then that means I may want some properties of the what the mother car. Okay, so I would have to what inherit from the mother car. So what we do is that we usually use the keyword extend. Okay, you use what extends to inherit what a member class or a parent class. Okay, a parent class. All right, so I'm going to define another class. So the class name would be small cars. Okay, or let me give it car models. Okay, car models. Okay, so car models extends, you see, so this is when we use the extends. So it extends what the car class, and then we can now, so as we have extended it, we now have access to all the what uh fields and methods of what the parent class. Okay, so let's assume we want to use one of the fields. Okay, so car models, and then we have already set a model to what the class, the car. Okay, so I just want to get the what model from the parent class. But then the issue is that we can't just say okay name. We can't just say print name. If we do that, it won't work, because this is kind of referring to what the name in this class. Okay, as though it was in the same in that class. So in order to reference a variable which is what, or a field which is in a class you are inheriting, you have to use the keyword called super. Okay, so you see print super dot name. So it will what? Print out the name in what? The parent class. But then one other thing I have to stress is that you cannot just call print inside the class like that. You have to what? Create a method. Okay, so I can create a method called uh, void printer, and then in that method I can now call what I want to print. Okay, so when we call this method, okay, if we call it, we are going to have access to what? The members of this class, and then it will print out the super.name. Okay, yes. So we could also inherit other things. We could use other members as well. Okay, so let's run this. And this time round, what I'm going to do is we have the class initialize already, the car class. So I'm just going to take this line of code out, and then now I'm going to initialize what? The car models. So var car model is equals to new car models. Okay, so that's fine. So now we have initialized the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print out what? I'm going to print the method in it. So I'm going to call car model dot, okay, so printer. So you see, I have access to what? Print car, which is in the what? Car method. So you see what I was talking about. You have access to the what? Members of the what? Class you have inherited. So I'm just going to print this. That's what we are doing now. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of things about classes we would have to learn, but it will take a while to learn everything. So I'm just going to take you through the basis so you can understand, and then you can do further studies on that. So we have null returned. We have all right. So we have null. Okay. That means that the value of the string here is not initialized in the parent class. That's why we are having null. So let's for instance, just set it to a default value of maybe uh, Camry, Toyota Camry. Okay, so I'm just setting to Toyota Camry. So let's run it again and see what happens, whether it can inherit and show as the member field. Okay, so you see it's showing Camry. Okay, that means it has inherited and it's what? Pointing to what? The field of the parent class. Okay, so that's fine. You could also I mean get use the super to reference to what? A function or a method in what? The parent class. So I could say let's get the car name. So I'm used calling the getter. Okay, car underscore name. Okay, so let's print that too and see. We should still have the Camry. Okay, so execution is finished, is Camry. Okay, so that's about inheritance. Okay, we could also use a keyword called override, and what override would do is, for example, we want to override one of the methods in what? The parent class. So for instance, we have a print car method. Okay, so you can use the override keyword, and this is how we do it. Override. Okay, and then what you do is you call the what? The function you want to override in the parent class. So in the parent class we have what? Print void print what? Car. So we are going to override that method. So instead of it to print what? The car name plus the model, we are just going to say print brackets open hello, this is my car. and the name is, then I'll just add the super. So I'm combining what we just learned about super dot, and then I'll call the class the field name. So if we call the print car, okay, in the what, in the child class we just created, so dot print car. Okay, if I do this, what we are going to have is what, the overwritten method. We are going to have this information instead of what, just printing the car name and the model. So we have what, hello, this is my car and the name is Camry. Okay, so that is about classes. Thank you very much for watching. um Please take your time to share, like, and follow up. You can comment so that I can improve on my delivery. Okay, I mentioned creating of uh, an application using that, maybe it could be a command line application, so that we'll test the list and other things we have learned previously. Okay, that will come in what, my next video. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time.